Would you like to know how to get the most out of your whipping siphon?
Well, today on WTF, we're going to look at a bunch of different great ways that you can use it, and stick around for a very special offer. Hello and welcome to WTF, where we transform food here in the Modernist Pantry Test Kitchen. I'm Chef Scott Guerin.
And I'm Janie Wang, the owner of Modernist Pantry. Today, Scott and I, we're going to be talking all about whipping siphons. And you may have already seen them or you may have already used them, but today we're going to cover what techniques you can do with whipping siphons, as well as do some easy but still very impressive demos and recipes that you can do in your very own kitchen. So Scott, people might have already seen whipping siphons. Why don't we start off with an explanation of how exactly they work?
Sure. So what a whipping siphon does is that you put a liquid or some food inside of the canister here. You'll seal it up, and then you're going to charge it with either N2O or CO2. And those are two different types of gases, and they will give you two different types of effects.
Okay. And what exactly is the difference between, let's say, an N2O charge versus a CO2 charge?
That's a good question. And a lot of people don't necessarily understand this because they think that an N2O charge is going to give them soda. But N2O is actually nitrous oxide. So it's going to give a nice fine bubble structure. And that's really important. So if you've ever had a Guinness beer, that's on a nitrous tap. So what that is that's going to give you that nice kind of creamy foam head. And the nitrous gives a nice, creamy, rich kind of texture. That's why you use it in things like whipped cream.
Right.
If you're going to use CO2, that is carbonation. So that's where you would get your sodas or your carbonated fruit, whatever you're attempting to do. And that actually will give things a slightly acidic taste, and that's from the carbonic acid that is in the carbonation itself.
Okay.
So when I add that, let's say, to a whipped cream instead of an N2O, it's going to give it a sour taste. It's going to taste off. It's also going to have those really harsh, large bubbles, as opposed to the fine bubbles that you would get with the N2O. So you don't want to do that. You want to make sure you know exactly what you're using, and they're color-coded. So the CO2 charges are going to be gold most of the time, and the N2O charges are going to be purple. So that's really easy, and also the soda charges will say soda charges, so you'll know, and the other ones will say cream charges. So just double, triple check just to make sure you're doing it right, and then eventually you'll just know.
Yeah, and I think just last week we did a WTF all about different types of sodas that we made with acacia gum, and we had used a whipping siphon and CO2 charges to make our sodas.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so if you haven't already, check out episode number 151, which will be in the description below.
Yeah, so let's get into a quick demo just to see how easy it is. Once you have a whipping siphon, you just make sure the gasket's in there. That's very important.
Okay.
If this gasket is not in here and you try to charge it, the gas is just going to come out.
Okay.
So make sure that is in there. So I have a nice little funnel that you put on top. It makes it much easier. I suggest everyone try it. And I have some warm prosciutto consomme here.
Okay.
Right, so I make the prosciutto consomme and I put it in here. And we're making a hot and cold soup. So really this can be, you can use this for 3 different types of dishes on a dinner party. So you have like an edible cocktail here, you have a nice dessert, and then this could be your soup course if you're trying to impress all your friends.
So it's versatile in that it can handle both hot and cold liquids.
Yes, and that's really important. It doesn't just have to be cold. There's always going to be like a fill line or a recommended fill line. This here is a pint-sized container, so if you put up to 16 ounces in it, you're good. So I added that. I'm just going to add in, to sprinkle in my foam magic, right?
And Foam Magic, if you're not familiar with it, check out WTF foaming episode, which will also be in the description below. So Foam Magic is wonderful because it creates this creamy, stable foam. So it's a great product.
It works well with warm liquids, so that's important. And I'm just going to place the top on, if I can get it to go.
Okay. And what's in this cup right here?
So I'll get to that. Just one moment. So once I get this top on, I'm just going to show you quickly how to add the gas. So once that top is on, you pull it until it is tight. You place the charger directly inside, and you're going to charge it. With these, you want to charge them at least twice. It's always a good bet to charge them twice. And one quick thing is there was oxygen in here, correct?
Yep.
So when I add that N2O, it pushes all the oxygen to the top. So I'm just going to give it a quick, and I get out all the oxygen.
There you go.
It's that simple. So I'm going to get rid of my spent charge. I'm going to do a second one.
And what happens if you didn't do the second one?
If you don't do the second one, it just won't have enough of that, that bubble structure, right? It's not going to have enough N2O in here to create that beautiful foam.
Okay.
And also, if you're doing something obviously in a larger container, it's not going to be enough to handle like up to a quart. So definitely start with 2. I've seen people start with 1, but it's not really necessary. Always try and start with 2 charges. So I'm going to give this a second after I give it a shake. So I give it a shake. It's a little warm. It's not piping hot, but what we're making here is a hot and cold soup. So this hot foam is going to sit on top of our chilled it's cantaloupe and lychee soup.
Ooh,
so we make similar to it's kind of an older fashioned dessert, which is prosciutto wrapped around cantaloupe. So this we do the same exact flavors in a soup form, and you get the hot and cold, you get the sweet and savory, so it's all those kind of effects that you're getting.
Really nice.
So I'm going to give this just a second. After I shake it up, kind of let that foam magic hydrate really well so I can make a big beautiful foam on top of my soup.
Okay, and so while we're waiting for that to hydrate, can we talk a little bit about the different sizes? So we have pints, we have quarts, and what's the difference and benefit of a pint versus a quart?
Well, a quart is just double what a pint is. So it's always going to take 2 pints to equal a quart. But if you're trying to do more, say you are doing a dessert for, 20, 30, 40 people, you could get away with doing it out of 2 quart containers rather than having to, have 4 of these pint containers. So you're going to get more volume out of the quart. That's really the biggest benefit of having the quart. It's just double the size. Okay.
And are there any differences in kind of like the minimum amounts of charge that you need between a pint and a quart?
The quart's always going to take more because there's more space to fill within this. So you always start with 2, like I said. I always do a test. Is this to my liking? Is this how I like it? Is this the texture I want? No, add more. You don't ever want to just keep pumping charges into there because that is dangerous. The max I would ever go with is 3.
Okay.
And I always make sure to get off that oxygen, so even then it's not necessarily 3 full charges.
Okay, cool. And then I think in our store, we carry the 2 different brands, obviously our own Modernist Pantry brand, and then we also have the, I guess I call them ISI, some people call them EC, so EC or ISI.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll never really know. It's a mystery of the world. So
you can go on their website.
Yeah, we have 2 different types.
Okay.
The best part is that there's a bunch of different attachments, but they work on all the types.
Okay.
All the attachments can work on any whipping siphon that you have, so that's really great.
Right, and same thing for the chargers as well. So
Yes.
the ISI chargers will work with any of the Modernist Pantry.
So they're basically universal, which is really nice. You don't have to worry about, is this tip going to work on here? Is this charger going to work? No, they just work. So that's the best part.
Okay. Do we want to go over any of the attachments before we jump back to the demo? Or
Yeah.
what are you thinking?
The attachments I like these attachments right here, just because they're all stainless steel. They're super easy to clean, and you kind of bypass the little extra nozzle. They just screw right on.
And that's just for shaping, right? Basically, like if you're doing like a whipped cream.
Yeah. So if you have the plain circle, it's just going to come out like a plain foam. If you have the big balloon tip on it, it's going to be like that whipped cream that you're used to with the star ridges on it. So that's what that's for. This is really cool. This is a decorator tip, so you can actually get like square and like a flat line. So if you're really making a really beautiful dish, you can hone it to exactly what you want. That's a really cool kind of decorator tips. We also have the finer tips over here if you want to grab that for me.
Sure.
Jamie.
So these are the injectors.
Yeah, the injector tips are cool because then you can inject directly into meat. You can also inject fillings into
like popovers?
Yeah, all sorts of different things. So eclairs, any type of pâte à choux. So that's really nice, really easy to use as well. And then we have...
Let's do this one.
Yeah, of course. So we kind of saw this in action earlier. There's a sieve and then a funnel. So that makes it very easy to get things inside the canister because it doesn't have the widest mouth on it. It has kind of a narrow mouth. So this is really easy and you're not spilling stuff all over the table. And it comes with a sieve, and we could always use those.
I know. Do you want to talk about the rapid infusion?
Yeah, because we did something with rapid infusion. So this is...
Here we go. Oh, if I can pick it up. Here we go.
So the rapid infusion is really nice. if you are making an oil or a vinegar, you would put in all your herbs, whatever you're infusing into the oil or vinegar. You place this right on top, and it fits flushly to the top of this. So if you're going to pour it directly out, you don't have to worry about anything coming out. Also, it has this offset nozzle. So if you're going to pump it out that way directly into a bottle, you don't have to worry about all the sediment that is in here going up and then clogging. And that is a big thing that people have an issue with, is they think they can put anything in here and it's going to come out this nozzle. It's not. It's going to clog it because it's a very fine hole that it's trying to come out of. Think about all the pressure that's in there. You can't have this giant, mopped up hole. So it's going to get clogged in there, and then it will eventually just leak out all of the gas. This little strainer here that fits on the top will stop that.
Okay. And how does rapid infusion work compared to a traditional infusion method? Okay,
so traditional infusion method, you're going to put the stuff in there, maybe you heat it up, and then you let it sit. Sometimes a week, sometimes 2 weeks, sometimes a month, right? So it's going to take a long time. With this, when that, let's just say N2O gets in there, it separates all those cells, right? It kind of breaks up the intercellular airspace, which gets all the juice out into the liquid. And then with this case, you're getting the liquid back in. So these right here are little jungle bird, kind of like a bow tie cocktail, edible cocktail. And all that cocktail gets into the fruit. And I made these earlier today, and as you can see, they look like they've been, marinating for a day or two.
Right, so kind of simply put, we're saving a ton of time.
A ton of time.
Exactly, by just having this little attachment on there.
Yep, and we also have a recipe on the blog for chili oil that we've made. And you just make it in, and it takes a few hours, and you have this big, beautiful batch of chili oil that generally takes weeks on end. So.
Yeah, and speaking of what we have here, what do we have here, and can I eat it?
You can eat it.
Okay, what is it?
We can actually both eat it.
Cool.
So it is a pineapple.
Okay.
Cherry and another pineapple, kind of set up like a bow tie. And then it has some Campari, some lime juice, and some dark rum, and it's a jungle bird cocktail. So it's like a tiki cocktail. If you smell it, it smells just like a tiki cocktail.
It does.
And then I put some lime sugar on top, and you have this really beautiful dessert cocktail, or tiki cocktail, that you can eat as a dessert, or you can just have it as hors d'oeuvres, or just hanging out at a party. Obviously, no kids around, but I'm going to eat this right now, so take it away, Janie.
All right, so it's super refreshing, very, very light, and very tasty. So the recipe for this is on the blog. Get it in the link in the description below, and you'll be able to do this yourself. And this took like no time at all, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, it's extremely simple recipe. And the hardest thing is taking them out and putting them on toothpicks, and I think everyone can do that. So.
Cool. All right, and I know you have a few other exciting demos and kind of fun demos for us. What else do we have going on here?
All right, so the dessert portion. We have a white chocolate mousse that's very simple. It's white chocolate, milk, gelatin, vanilla. You're going to take it, you're going to pump it into, or place it into a charger, and you're going to charge it with N2O. If you want to see anything charged with CO2, watch our soda episode. But we charge it with N2O, and we let it sit until that gelatin sets. You give it a good shake, and then you're able to pump out some beautiful mousse without having to do all the work of whipping whipped cream, whipping meringue, folding, one after another until you have this beautiful mousse. So I'm just going to give this a quick shake. And then I'm going to pump it into this glass. So we have white chocolate mousse. That took no time at all. And then I have some raspberry spheres here that are Christine Latenier. And you can just garnish with those. And you have a super simple dessert that everyone loves mousse. I mean,
it's true.
It's really one of the easiest things. You can do this with chocolate as well, like a regular milk chocolate or dark chocolate. We like the white chocolate because how it contrasts with the spheres.
Yeah, this would be like a really great kind of weeknight dinner dessert for, especially if you have kids like us who are super picky, but they always love chocolate and they always love mousse.
Fruit and chocolate, easy. And this recipe is actually from our Alchemist's notebook.
Ooh.
So you can wait for that. It's going to be coming out very soon, but just stay tuned because you'll eventually see little tidbits of it coming soon.
Yeah, and if you do want to be one of the first people to be notified about the Alchemist notebook, so the best thing to do is go on our blog and sign up for the newsletter, because that's actually where we're going to launch it, so you can get it before anybody else can.
Okay, great. So we're going to finish this, but quickly, I think we should talk about a little promo that we have.
Okay, promo man, take it away.
So it is going to be, if you enter the code WHIPITGOOD, that's WHIPITGOOD, WHIPITGOOD at modernistpantry.com, you'll get 20% off of any of the Modernist Pantry whippers. I almost made it all the way through without saying. But yeah, so it's WHIPITGOOD, WHIPITGOOD. That's all one word. And you'll get 20% off one of these whippers, which is a great deal.
Yeah, because already, the Modernist Pantry whippers are way cheaper than the ISI whippers. I believe one of our core whippers, so this big one here, so it regularly retails for $99.99. The ISI whipper, I believe, retails for $149.
Okay, so that's already 30% off, and then an added 20 because you're getting the Whip It Good code. So
you're going to be getting it for $79.99, which is going to be awesome.
Great. So let's finish up with this. This is our warm foam, right? So I'm just going to give it a shake. And then I'm going to pump it directly on top of our melon soup.
Ooh, look how great that looks.
Great. And then I'm going to just garnish with a little bit.
You said it's Parmesan in that foam?
No, prosciutto.
Prosciutto.
So I'm just going to set a piece of crispy prosciutto. You just pretty much bake in a low temperature oven. And we have this beautiful soup that is hot and cold, sweet and savory, and you can serve to your guests. And you can take it, just drink it right out of the glass. They will mix as they are drank.
That sounds really nice. I'm going to drink one of those after we get off the air. All right, so is there anything else that we want to leave the folks with today?
No, I think we pretty much covered everything for Whip It, or Whippers. Whip It Good, that's the promo code.
So, yeah, I think what hopefully we've shown today is that the whipping siphon is a really versatile tool, right? So you can use it to make soups, you can use it to make foams, you can use it to make cocktails, you can use it to make mousses. Yeah, I'm sure there's other stuff that we probably missed that you can do with a whipping siphon. I know people have done some crazy stuff with
this stuff. I always say the coolest stuff hasn't been thought of yet. So it may just be up to you to find the new cool thing to do with whipping siphons.
And if you do, please tag us on social media, and we would love to see what you come up with. So from here in the Modernist Pantry Test Kitchen, I'm Janie Wang.
And I'm Scott Guerin. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, like, comment, and subscribe. And turn that bell on because it notifies you when we drop a new video.
If you like any of today's recipes, go to blog.modernistpantry.com. There you'll find recipes, Ask a Chefs, and tips and tricks, and more.
And if you have a friend who you think would like this video, share it with them.
And to get any of these great ingredients, just go to our website, www.modernistpantry.com.
And until next time, we'll be here in the Test Kitchen, helping you create memorable and magical experiences.